And then we bring on people to discuss 9/11, Truth Movement, A&E for 9/11 Truth Pilots and 9/11 Truth, etc. Thank you for your request, JC. You know what? We do get a lot of requests to cover a lot of different topics. So, Jimmy...
I already talked about that. I'm not an engineer.
He's not an engineer.
And
right.
Just assume the government's lying.
Okay. Just assume the government's lying. Thank you.
I don't, okay, hold on.
Stand by. Come to San Diego. I saw that.
Okay. Oh, hey, hang on. Let me get over. We'll come back to San Diego. We need to get our schedule frickin' going. Hi, everybody.
We got some, and now, Jimmy, that you're here, so here's a really fun one. How did you get started in this business?
In what, the news business?
You can take that however you want.
Yeah.
That's all. That's the entire question.
I got started in show business, meaning standing up comedy, and I like to say standing up comedy because you're not supposed to say it like that. But I like mispronouncing things. It makes to me it's funny. You know, it makes me laugh. It gives me I laugh all the way down in my stomach. So I got started. I went to an open mic in sets of my life when I was at Jimmy Kimmel. Luckily, a lot of comedians, that was like the thing about Jimmy Kimmel's show. I don't know if it's still that way, but everyone used to eat it on his show. So that's why they built that little club. Do you remember, Ron, when they would do? I don't know if I don't watch late night comedy anymore, or those talk shows.
You mean Evening at the Improv?
No, I mean Jimmy Kimmel. He built a little stage. So if you did stand up, they had like a club built in a separate part. So that was really cool that he did that. So Jimmy Kimmel is I think he's a cool guy overall. I really do. I've known him, tangentially. He and I never went to lunch or anything, but you do a daily show so people can rely on you. They know that you have new content, and it just didn't work out. And so finally, in like 2015, it was really because of the success of Kyle Kalinske. So Kyle Kalinski's show, when he started doing Secular Talk, I kind of knew of him because Steve O and them told me about him, and I saw his show, and I thought he was good, and the show did a good show. And then I just saw how wildly, successful he was. And he encouraged me, and he said, hey, a guy like you would kill it. A guy who's up on the news, and plus he's a comedian and funny. And he had told me that for, at least a year. And so finally, I just saw his show take off, like the way it took off. And I was like, you know what? Maybe he's right. If he could do it, I could do it. And that was that. So that's when I started doing the show. It was in November or December of 2015. So this incantation of this show really hasn't been around for that long. It started as a radio show on KPFK. Maybe I skipped that part. So it started as a radio show in 2009. Alan Minsky, a guy named Ali Alexa, saw me doing the live Jimmy Dore show at the Improv. So all good stuff came from live performances, right? So he saw me doing a show live at the Improv. He gave me a radio show. Ali Alexa introduced me to Alan Minsky, and he gave me a radio show at KPFK, which is nationwide. And it's out in New York, so that also made me ready. So there was a big learning curve on how to do a good radio show. A lot of people do radio shows, and most of them suck. So it was hard for me to figure out how to do a good one that people would actually tune in for. Saturday, when we do this, we make this available to our patrons. So the point of this is, for whatever reason, a jagoff nightclub comedian is the guy telling the truth, when the mainstream and your alternative news isn't. There's a lot of alternative news. The reason why I'm doing this, that I do this show, but I do a show called The Aggressive Progressives on the Young Turks channel, is because I didn't agree with the Young Turks, editorial view on a lot of things. And so I wanted to do a show that kind of counter-narrative the main show at the Young Turks. I brought it to Cenk Uygur. I said, I'd like to do this show because I have a counter narrative to you. I have a different view editorially on what's happening. And, it's driving me nuts. And he said, sure, you can do a show that has a different point of view on the news than me. And I'll produce it for you. So a lot of people, so that's mind blowing that Cenk can disagree with me that hard and still produce that show that disagrees with him very hard. I wouldn't do that for someone else. I would not produce someone else's show who had a totally different opinion than me on stuff. I just wouldn't do it. So, again, this is so even alternative shows, I feel, aren't telling, aren't getting it right. And I think that, when like the Young Turks, I don't think they're getting it wrong because of money.
Is the Young Turks desperate for money? This little dog here is the saddest and cutest thing at the same time. It's hard to even fathom it because it's so cute, and yet it's so sad. The dog is sitting there begging for cash and begging for change.
Or whatever. I think that, or they have a different view, or their view is influenced that way. I think they honestly think that stuff. So, I don't ever, question Cenk's integrity or the main show's integrity. As a Putin puppet, I've read in the comments of under a Young Turks video that I did on the Young Turks main show, people were saying crap like, "Why is Jimmy defending the Russians?" How brainwashed is that audience? So that's a bad idea.